The Colorado game, we obviously saw right out of the gates. The team came with a little skip in their jump, right, from the whistle, which is fine. Great. Like, so my first observation was like, okay, well, Pineda hasn't obviously lost the locker room. That's good, right?
It's a good thing.
People are listening, including Araujo was coming out like a hornet.
And he's had a number of games where in the first half he looked like a hornet, like he really was on. And he just hasn't clicked. He hasn't scored. And then
it's not. There's no lack of an intensity like with Araujo in my mind, in the broader set of games that we have. I agree. I think he comes out quite often like that, where he's almost trying to do he's too intense. I was like, oh God, like that was like my first reaction to the intensity that I saw. I was like, oh God, they're just gonna overdo it. We played pretty well the first 15 minutes. We're not gonna get the goal, and the intensity is gonna wear off because that's what happens.
Yeah.
And we fortunately got a penalty kick. Almada skies it over the top, and then I think it was like the 27th minute. Almada does what Almada does. So
yeah, if you missed. So first of all, I felt like in the stadium, I told my son and his friend, I was like, we got that penalty kick. It was not a penalty kick. So it literally, the ball ricocheted sideways right at the top of the box and hit him on his hand. And they said, oh, his hand's not in a natural position. Sure, because he didn't think the ball was going to ricochet sideways into his hand.
Oh,
how is that a handball?
When somebody rips it like 5 feet from you, and like you're like, I'm like defending you like this. Like,
it wasn't even like you would say on a shot, you have to have now your hands behind your back or whatever.
Like this actually is a natural position when I'm defending someone. Like this is balance.
You look natural.
Right? If you kick the ball from 5 feet and it hits my arm, this is the problem in soccer in general. They are never going to solve the handball thing unless a handball is just a handball if it hits your hand. Which means you got a bunch of people walking around like this.
Yeah.
I think, as I've talked about in the past, there's got to be some way. People don't like subjectivity in the game, but I feel like why not have a situation where in the penalty box, it could be a penalty kick, but it doesn't have to be. So if there's a ricochet handball that the guy didn't know about, it's a free kick from there, which is a very dangerous free kick. Maybe they score off it. That's your tough luck. But at least it's not a penalty kick.
That's
right.
That's a really good idea.
Whereas if a guy blocked it on a shot that was going in, then sure, penalty kick.
Yeah. Especially if his shots go if there's a chance the same way how they credit the goal, right? Like if there was a chance it was going on frame, then you give the penalty kick, right?
Pierre Luigi Collina, who I thought was the best referee that I saw, at least in my era, I know what he would have done, and this is before VAR, so I don't think you could do that anymore. He would have said free kick, and the guy was only about a foot inside the box. He would have been like, it's outside the box. Yeah. Right? That's what he'd done. And he said, that's fair because, it hit his hand. That's not good, and it was in your own penalty area, but it shouldn't be a penalty kick. You didn't earn a penalty kick by ricocheting a ball off somebody sideways into his hand.
Yeah. So, Dave, in terms of just the first half, even, what's your grade on the way we played? Not intensity aside.
The first half of the game, of the Colorado game, you mean?
Yeah.
I thought overall in this game, we were much, much better. In particular, we really didn't give them too many good chances. That being said, in the whole first half, we had a ton of the ball as usual. We didn't create that many good chances. And if they get a lucky goal, we would have probably lost.
I don't know. I felt like Colorado was just so bad. I mean, there was some, had they had any talent, they would have seized some of those opportunities, but they never materialized because they just made some bonehead moves.
As we've said before, this team to me is only really great when everybody's there. And this team came to life when Papa Giorgio came on the field. That's when they were finally looking really good, right? But I didn't think that was actually us dominating the game the whole time. We had a lot of possession. We at least didn't give up great chances, but we weren't creating good chances until Papa Giorgio got on there.
Yeah. But let's talk about this free kick. So I don't know unless you want to talk about
the penalty kick that we got was a handball, right? And then we scored a classic, not coached goal, which, if you've got good players, you score that. But Almada hits an amazing free kick. That was just one guy bailing us out, as he's done multiple times, right?
So I didn't notice, and they brought it up on the broadcasters brought this up, that we do a wall in front of their wall.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that before, and I kind of like it. What's your opinion on that? Because there's so much craziness that goes on. Now they got the guy laying on the ground, their wall jumps, and we've got our wall in front of their wall ducking. But I do kind of like the fact that does create a little bit of a screen for the goalkeeper.
That's obviously the role of it, is to try to make the goalkeeper have to take an extra step over to see.
Yeah. The goalkeeper definitely is at a disadvantage with that extra layer of people and not seeing
and he never moved on this.
He never moved.
He just stood.
The wall jumps perfectly, and it still goes over the jumping wall and right into the top. Well, not right in the top left, but it was pretty snug.
Amazing thing is he got it up and over the wall. By the time it hit the goal, it was about mid-height, which means the dip on that kick was ridiculous.
It was, yeah. The keeper just stands there dumbfounded.
Say it again,
but that's why
I can really play.
But that's why I was kind of in favor of that weird wall. I felt like that was another layer of distraction.
Yeah,
where he couldn't see whether Almada was going to go far post or near post, and by the time he was ready to react, it was just too late.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so then the game is 1-0 for a long time. I think up until like almost the 80th minute. It was our second goal. So that's a lot of nail biting for me behind my Apple TV, Dave.
Yeah, it was 80th minute, Araujo. You're right.
So it wasn't like we really ran away with that game.
No.
It clearly felt like I was just waiting for a tie to come at that point.
I didn't, I thought we were, really in control. Sometimes I feel like we have possession, but we're not in control at all. And I don't think that was because I just think Colorado is really bad. Like you said, they didn't have anybody forward. They didn't get any numbers forward. They were just sitting. It was, even when they were trying to score, it was going to be a counter, and it was a counter with like one or two. Right.
So, all right. Negativity aside, Mike Dobbs. You know who can play some soccer, Dave?
Papa Giorgio.
George Giacomakis. Yeah. Not only Almada, but let's talk about a guy who's hopefully going to be here for a while. That guy can play some soccer.
Yes, he can.
I love it. It's not a coincidence at this point, folks. He can score some goals.
When he came on, it just changed. Actually, well,
not only can he score goals, it's where you're going. He changes the whole.
He was pressuring up top. Miguel Berry never pressured anybody.
Right.
I was watching. I know. In 10 minutes, he never put any pressure on a single player with the ball. Right? Nothing. Nothing. And then Papa Giorgio comes in, and you think, okay, he's the celebrity star.
I counted. It was like 2 or 3 seconds.
Yeah.
From when he was on the field to when he had an impact.
Yeah, he was running right off, and he was creating all kinds of pressure right from the beginning. And then he dropped back when we had the ball with our own center backs. Instead of trying to run by their team from our own 18, he actually came back to the ball, Mikey Dobbs, and he made an absolute beautiful ball to Almada. I think it was on the Araujo goal, right? Did he find Almada and find Araujo? But anyway, it was a great spin. Oh, my goodness, was a great ball.
Yeah, it was.
He made 2 balls in that half. One was a spin ball, and then the other one, he was at the top of the box. He was looking right and slipped it behind their right back to our left midfielder.
The second goal was Araujo running an open space. Correct. And then instead of doing what we always try to bend it to the far post, he just does a little cheeky check right to the near.
He's good at that.
Yeah. Really good at that move.
That was really well done.
He hasn't scored that because he hasn't had that many moments to run. Yeah. And if you remember the last game against Charlotte early on, he had a breakaway. Yeah. Right. They got stuffed. And people are like, oh, he's not that good. And I agree. That was horrible. Yeah. Right. But, but, I think to me, if he gets one of those, if you're a coach and you get one of those in like 5 games and you're like, oh, he's got to score that would help us. that's fool's gold, right? I used to talk to my good friend Paul Riley, who's a phenomenal coach, and he would say coaches chase after that all the time. We got this amazing chance we should have scored. If you want to score, he's like, create 9, 10, 12, 15 good chances, then you'll score.
Yeah. And back to your point, like just being involved in the game, the third goal was when Giacomakis did that little flick out wide to Almada, who then cuts it in and just rips one far post. I can't remember, the keeper got a hand on it, but then Tyler Wolf basically makes sure he gets it across the line as it's already going in.
He should not have touched that.
Why?
Oh,
because so what happened
you
was
gotta do that.
No, the goalkeeper pushed it off of sideways, his own player. It hit off a second one of their own player, and it was going in the goal off of their own player. He was in an offside position.
Oh.
Right? He was in a total offside position.
Wolf.
Yes, he was. They called it no problem because it turned out it was their goalkeeper to their defender to the other defender to him, so it came off their team.
Wow.
Right? And that's why, but he couldn't have known that it didn't hit our own player. If it hit any one of our own players in that game, that's an offside goal.
Oh, I didn't know.
And it was going
offside.
in. It was absolutely going in. He should have gotten out of the way.
One of my kids said that. I was like, absolutely not. You put that in the
goal.
He
wasn't. Not if you're offside, you don't. You got to know. Yeah. He was really offside. Like he was a yard offside. Right? It wasn't even close.
I need to go back and look at that clip.
Yeah.
All right.
So I was like, and I was like, it's got to be coming back. Right? He was clearly offside. And then they went slowly through the replay, and you're like, it never touched one of our players. Okay. It was their goalkeeper off their defender, off another one of their defenders to him.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So
it was like pinball.
One of those little offside loopholes. I love it. All right. Now, again, what brings me happiness is the fourth goal. Yes. So we had like 3 goals in the last 10, 12 minutes of this game.
That was
it's like, all right, this is why I started an Atlanta United podcast. I want more of this.
Yeah.
I mean, first off, credit to Brooks Lennon.
Yes.
Nice.
What a ball.
What a ball.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing, right? If you're out there, Miguel Berry, and you're listening, right? So Giacomakis makes almost the same run that I showed how horrible it was on the tactical board, right?
I was going to bring that up.
But the difference is he made it when Lennon had the ball past midfield, right? It was right about at midfield.
Yeah,
he was whatever.
He was just shy of midfield.
But it wasn't from our center back from our own 18. Yeah. And so first of all, it was wide, so there was an angle. And second of all, he was far further up the field when he made that ball. That's where you can make that run.
Yeah, let's bring this up here. So here's Lennon. It's about 20 yards before the half line before he kicks it, I think. And
so when he launches it, he's only about 10 yards in our own half, right?
Yeah.
That's way farther than an 18.
What I loved about this goal, though, first off, great run.
Yep.
Beautiful chest ball. He's got the awareness to see the keeper's coming out, and he's got to do something with his next touch.
Mm-hmm.
He tries something audacious, which is to chip a tall keeper who's relatively close to him at that point, and gets enough air above it to do it. And then has the speed to follow up and just make sure it goes in the net with a bunch of defenders.
Not just the speed, but the urgency and intensity.
Yeah.
So that'll give you Pineda. I'll give you that. That's what he got.
George Giacomakis has always had intensity.
You're never right.
That doesn't need to be.
But he also has intelligence.
Yes.
Because so when Lennon plays that ball, he is so much further up the field than when we were talking about on the tactical board. And because he's wide, if the ball is played right over your head straight, you cannot chest it like he did. The reason why he was able to chest it was because it was coming at an angle.
Yeah.
Right. So that's a time where you can make that run, and it's a smart run.
And
it's just also a challenging one.
Brooks Lennon was almost out. He was only a couple feet from the touchline.
Yes. He was way out wide.
Sideline.
Yes. So that is, if you're Miguel Berry, do your little crazy loop-de run then. I don't think he's going to score like Dr. But at least you got a chance to bring the ball down.
I said this like 7 podcasts ago. If we see Barry
Yeah.
again, I was gonna walk out of the game. Didn't I say
Yes,
that?
you did.
Oh, that's right. That's
Remember
right.
that?
Yes, I do remember.
And
If
he
he starts
he's-
again, we're doomed, and I'm rocking out. But you didn't walk out.
I mean, how many
Liar.
games? Yeah,
he didn't start that
he
game.
didn't start
So
that
I
game.
remember I was
That's
I
right.
was like, I
He-
do not want to
he-
upset Mikey
It's
Dobbs.
okay. We
because-
give you
didn't start
a
that game.
mulligan, Mikey Dobbs.
But
You were absolutely right. And the sentiment was
the
right.
sentiment was
Exactly.
right, and but he did start a bunch of other games after that.
Oh yes, he has. And every single time,
all the way up
we
to
all
the Colorado game.
we text each other and be like, "What is
And
happening?"
so, if you think Pineda's tactics are good, and I'm saying that they're bad, like that was 6 games ago.
We've only ever called for, I think, 2 players to, if you're out there and we're wrong, whatever, to be canned.
Yeah.
One was Adam Jean, who was like a Barry clone.
There's 3 that I have. But
And the other one I thought we said was Breck Shea, who was awful.
I didn't hate Breck Shea as much as everybody else did. He's easy. He's
What do you
easy
got?
to
You're gonna
dislike.
go with
yeah, what were your 3?
Dom, Jurgen Dom.
Adam John, Miguel Barry, and Amar Sedic. Which
Oh,
Amar Sedic, as far as he's kind of
yeah,
maybe-
I want to.
he's kind of back because he's gotten so many minutes this year, and because he's not being asked to do anything more than just possession and
Yeah.
ticky tacky. He's actually with other good players around him playing good soccer.
Amar Sedic is good at what he does. So he's got 2 good feet. He's good at settling the ball. He's a possession
Yeah.
player. He's, a ball player. The reason why we've been down on him is because defensively he's not good. He's not dynamic. He doesn't make runs and he doesn't score goals.
Yeah.
So as an attacking midfielder, you're like, nah.
Yeah.
I would rather have an extra defensive midfielder, Ibarra and Sosa. And I'll say, look, okay, forget it. We don't need you. Like, this is what we kept saying about Josetu and or him, right? That they're supposedly another ball playing, attacking, whatever. They're not really doing that. They don't score. Why not have 2 guys and just be like, we've only got one guy who really is going to play us in. It's Almada. That's our guy.
Yeah.
Right?
But
we don't need another
the
one.
reason I backed off of Marcetic is he's playing smart soccer or not playing dumb soccer is maybe a better way to say it. And yeah, he's even had chances. He almost had that diving header chance. He got a little unlucky. It was about as good as he could have done on the occasion, I think.
Yeah. I think I've said in the past that, we've made fun of him a little bit, especially because his defending is awful. But he's a luxury player, right? If the team is going really, really well and he can make extra passes or whatever, he can really help, string people together. And he's good at that.
Yeah.
Right. But is that good enough? I don't think so.
I mean, it's like y'all said. He usually gets the ball, passes it to Almada.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
I'm
we
fine
said
with that.
in
And
the
I'm fine
last-
with that too.
I'm fine with
That's
that.
why I'm saying, okay, if you're at least smart enough to do that and not lose the ball, then hey.
In the last podcast, I think we talked about, or maybe a couple of ago, I said that, he actually fits the system much better because Josetu is running himself out of position and leaving this huge gap. At least because Sejdic doesn't run, he takes up space in the middle. And that actually is a little better. But if you replace the guy taking up with space with a guy, Ibarra, who can really tackle. I mean, Ibarra is a terrific tackler. He wins back balls all the time, right?
Yeah.
I would love to see Ibarra over the half field line, going and making tackles and winning the ball in their end and setting up goals. I'm not talking about making passes to make goals, but I'm talking about just turning it over and giving it to Almada, just like Sejdic does. But Sejdic does it only when somebody gives him the ball. He gives it to Almada. Ibarra could win the ball and give it to Almada. Totally different story.
Completely.